Welcome to Squishy Music Harley Benton update. This one is getting really good now, so that's really cool. Done with the finish work. The neck feels absolutely awesome. And then I also finished the fret work. So I don't know if you can see, but they're all polished, all crowned and leveled. And what I decided to do was, after taping off and being really careful with the finish, I decided to sand the whole body down anyway because the finish was a little thick. It wasn't that resonant. And when I sanded it off the neck, it's really thick. And it was also, for my taste, it was too shiny. Once the neck was all done and it just looked really awesome, the body looked kind of cheap because it was just super glossy, but then a little bit, it was a lot of waves and warbles in it. They never sanded and buffed it, of course, not for the price they did it at. So there were some areas of where the clear had laid up along the edges and it was thick and kind of ripply. So I decided I'm going to sand this whole thing to 2000 and just leave it matte. And just let it kind of get sort of matte shiny in areas where I touch it and play it. And it looks way better, I think, in matte. This doesn't even look as cheap back here anymore. So, also removed a lot of the glue, all the excess glue and everything, and the excess finish coat that bulged up here. Getting this nice and smooth and flat in here. So next step up is going to be shielding and electronics. So I'm going to hear a lot about this guy named Pete on this episode, but a guy named Pete is amazing luthier, friend of mine, and taught me everything I know about, or everything I don't know. I always ask him for advice on stuff. So he's been telling me, he makes his own pickups and stuff, and has been hounding me about these forever. In the last like 4 guitars I've built, I didn't buy these, I bought Seymour Duncan's. And so these are classic 59s. So we got those, and these are the tools that Pete made me for doing fretwork. Put my amp logo in it. This is my 600 bar, and then he made me a this one is my 320, but just like super nice and butter smooth, really feels awesome in your hand. It's super flat, does all kinds of crazy checks sandpaper out under microscopes to make sure the grains are evenly dispersed and very particular. There's just a bit of a bevel on here so it doesn't scrape, but this is a long board. And then he's also taught me, these are my straight edges. So it's my main one that covers the whole fretboard, and then this is my fret rocker. And normally precision straight edges are very expensive, but again, I'll mention Pete. He taught me how to get plenty of these for next to nothing. It's like you go to Harbor Freight, and then they sell these yardstick ruler, 4-foot rulers, aluminum. They're extruded aluminum, and about 1 in 6 of them are straight. So what you do is you lay them out. You have to take them out of the plastic. You lay them out on the floor, and if they're flat this way, flip one of them over. If it's flat this way, flip the other side. Flip them every possible way you can. If it lines up clean along the whole 4-foot thing, buy both of them, and you have 2 straight rulers. So just make sure when you cut them to length, don't put heat into them. And be very careful and don't drop them, and treat them as if they're expensive straight edges, but this is more than good enough for fretwork. So you pull it off to where it's neck's not being supported, and you slide it this way. until all that goes away, until it's just touching, which is right there. Then you check it with this straight edge, and you adjust the truss rod to get this as flat as you can get it. So, and then you use this shorter one to see if the frets rock. And if you go here, you can hear that, you can feel it. That means that one fret's high. I marked all the high ones. Here's one. Marked all the high ones with Sharpie. So this one here will rock. This one. This one, no. So these ones are all high. So I checked those to make sure they were pushed all the way down and seated. So I tapped them down with this, very light. Make sure that, and then check the rocking again. Here's where the fretwork is factory. So some of that didn't get touched. Those ones look all right. That one here isn't really, this one hasn't been touched. Okay, so now you can see that the one that was in between the two high ones has finally got touched just a little. There we go. That one got touched there, so they've all been touched. Some actually down here ended up pretty flat. All this part has already been sanded 600, then 1,000, then 1,500, then 2,000. So that's, I'm just leaving it there. That way it's just glossy-ish, but not like just like super cheap shiny. Do same thing with the body. And yeah, shielding, electronics next. And this thing should be back in business. Or just in business, really. Right on?